Welcome back for part 2 of Brave Irene. And we were wondering and thinking and asking questions while we read to help us understand and know what we're reading more. You're going to need your workbook again. Okay. Good readers stop and think when they read so they know what they're reading about. Okay. And a pencil. Yesterday we started with Mom was a seamstress and she made a beautiful dress for the Duchess, but she was too sick and couldn't take her. Irene volunteered. Started with a snowstorm. It kept getting worse and worse. She's yelling at the wind, and then the wind ripped that box right out of her hands. And away flew the beautiful gown for the Duchess. But she didn't give up, right? She wanted to keep going. I've got to explain, she said. So she kept going, but what happens? She twisted her ankle. What was the cause? She stepped in a hole. And that's where we left off, okay? So I'm going to tell you 3 more places to write your questions, and we are going to be on page 19. Yesterday we were on 17 with our 4 stops. Turn the page, and then today we're only going to have 3 stops, okay? Even says at the top. All right, and then tomorrow we're going to do page 18. If we're wondering why we're skipping a page, we're going to do this one tomorrow. Today we're going to be on page 19, and I'm going to tell you 3 places to stop and write your questions, and you have to do it because you're going to have a discussion post for number 3. So I know that you're watching the videos and doing your job as a learner, okay? All right, so let's keep going. Okay, she had twisted her ankle, and she was thinking that the palace is closer now than her home is. So she's going to keep going. She plowed on, dragging furrows with her sore foot. That would be hard to do in the snow. The short winter day was almost done. That means it was about to get dark. Am I still going the right way, she wondered. There was no one around to advise her. Vocabulary word. There was no one around to tell her what to do. Whoever else there was in the snow-covered world was far, far away and safe indoors. Even the animals in their burrows. She went plodding on. She just kept on trucking. She's very inspirational, I think. Soon night took over. She knew in the dark that the muffled snow was still falling. She could feel it. She was cold and alone in the middle of nowhere. Irene was lost. What's your wonder? Write your question right now. Irene was lost. Stop number 1. What's your question? I'm going to keep going. You can pause me to finish your question or just listen as you write. She had to keep moving. She was hoping she'd come to a house, any house at all, and be taken in. She badly needed to be in someone's arms. She wanted to get snuggly buggly, right? The snow was above her knees now. That would be hard to walk in. She shoved her way through it, clutching the empty box. She has got perseverance all over her, right? She was asking how long a small person could keep this struggle up, when she realized it was getting lighter. There was a soft glow from somewhere below her. What do you think it is? She waded towards this glow and soon was gazing down a long slope at a brightly lit mansion. She made it. It had to be the palace. Irene pushed forward with all her strength and slush, slump, she plunged downward and was buried. She had fallen off a little cliff. Only her hat and the box in her hands stuck out above the snow. Even if she could call for help, no one would hear her. Her body shook, her teeth chattered. She must have been freezing. Why not freeze to death, she thought, and let all these troubles end? Why not? She was already buried. Do you think she will? And never see her mother's face again? Her good mother who smelled like fresh baked bread? In the explosion of fury, we know that word, she flung her body about to free herself and was finally able to climb up on her knees and look around. How to get down to that glittering palace? As soon as she raised the question, she had the answer. So on the next page is box number 2, stop number 2. So listen carefully for your wonder, your question. She laid the box down and climbed aboard. But it pressed into the snow and stuck. She tried again, and this time, instead of climbing on, she leaped. The box shot forward like a sled. The wind raced after Irene, but couldn't keep up. In a moment, she would be with people again, inside where it was warm. The sled slowed and jerked to a stop on paving stones. Be wondering. The time had come to break the bad news to the Duchess. Oh yeah, I forgot about the dress. I was so concerned with her being stuck in the snow. With the empty box clasped to her chest, Irene strode nervously toward the palace. What are you wondering? What are you thinking? What is your question? Write it down. Stop 2. I have a good one, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. But then her feet stopped moving and her mouth fell open. She stared. Maybe this was impossible, yet there it was. A little way off and over to the right, hugging the trunk of a tree, the beautiful ball gown. The wind was holding it there. Mama, Irene shouted, Mama, I found it. She managed somehow, despite the wind, to get the gown off the tree and back in its box. And in another moment, she was at the door of the palace. She knocked twice with the big brass knocker. The door opened and she burst in. This page is going to be your last wonder, wonder number 3. She was welcomed by cheering servants and a delirious Duchess. Remember delirious? Being so happy. Why was she so happy? They couldn't believe she had come over the mountain in such a storm, all by herself. She had to tell the whole story, every detail, and she did. Then she asked to be taken right back to her sick mother. But it was out of the question, they said. The road that ran around the mountain wouldn't be cleared until the morning. What are you wondering? Write it down. Stop number 3. Don't fret, child. Remember, fret means worry. Don't fret, child, said the Duchess. Your mother is surely sleeping now. We'll get you there first thing tomorrow. Irene was given a good dinner as she sat by the fire, the moisture streaming off her clothes. The Duchess, meanwhile, got into her freshly ironed gown before the guests began arriving in their sleighs. What a wonderful ball it was. The Duchess in her new gown was like a bright star in the sky. Another great simile. In her new gown, she was like a bright star. Beautiful, sparkly shimmer. Irene in her ordinary dress was radiant. Why do you think she was radiant in an ordinary dress? Because she felt so good and so happy. She was swept up into the dances by handsome aristocrats who kept her feet off the floor to spare her ankle. Her mother would enjoy hearing all about it. Early the next morning, when the snow had long since stopped falling, Mrs. Bobbin woke up from a good night's sleep feeling much improved. She hurried about and got a fire going in the cold stove. Then she went to look in on Irene. But Irene's bed was empty. She ran to the window and gazed at the white landscape. Oh. No one was out there. Snow powder fell from the branch of a tree. How do you think Mom was feeling? Yeah, a little worried, a little concerned. Probably more than that. "Where's my child?" Mrs. Bobbin cried. She whipped on her coat to go out and find her. But when she pulled open the door, a wall of snow faced her. Peering over it, looking over, she could see a horse-drawn sleigh hastening up the path. And seated on the sleigh between two large footmen was Irene herself, asleep but smiling. Would you like to hear the rest? One more page. Well, there was a bearded doctor in the back of the sleigh. And the Duchess had sent Irene's mother a ginger cake with white icing, some oranges and an apple, and a spice candy of many flavors, along with a note saying how much she cherished, how much she loved her gown, and what a brave and loving person Irene is. Which, of course, Mrs. Bobbin knew better than the Duchess, because that was her mom, her daughter. Such a great story of perseverance and determination, cause and effect, problem solution. It's got it all. Okay, your job right now is you should have a question at stop 3, and you need to put it in your discussion post. Okay, so I know that you're paying attention and practicing your learning. You got to do the work to learn. You can't just have me read stories to you, right? You have to participate in your learning. That's what we're doing today. So discussion post on number 3. Love this story. Lots of great lessons in here. And tomorrow, you're going to use your workbook again for the other page that we were speaking of, right? Can't wait to read your posts. And you're wondering, I love it.